again, and welcome to the show that really grabs you by the and just takes hold. This is the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, along with my partner, Brian, the Ranger Tar. Brian, how are you?
Keep your hands to yourself.
Whoa, it's,
That's the first rule they teach you in school.
You might sue me. Take me to court or something. That's another story. Today we are going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams playoff preview. The Rams, what a story.
Really, what a story.
Well, beginning of the year, we thought 4 or 5 wins. Even our affiliate, Vince Flukey, as we'll talk to later, thought 4 or 5 wins. I think he said 6, actually. So, big.
And we thought he was bullish.
Yeah, well, we thought a lot of guys were bullish. I almost walked to Texas. We'll get into that story in another episode. But, you talk about the Los Angeles Rams and how this team's done it. Here comes, Goff. Mm-hmm. What can you say about Stephen Goff? Jared Goff, excuse me. Stephen Goff. It's probably a guy I went to high school or something. But Jared Goff, yeah, everybody kind of wrote him off for dead last year, said he wasn't going to be the guy that was drafted first by the Rams, going to be the future of this team. And like I told you before, and I will say it over and over again, you got to give guys time to get caught up to the speed, and he's done that. Gurley's had a great year. Cooper Kupp's been a huge surprise. A lot of targets for Cooper Kupp, making a big impact. I mean, this team is for real, Brian. They were the #1 scoring offense at one point during the season and ended the year at.
They finished that way, yeah. And to think about, they were the 32nd ranked offense last year.
Yep.
I mean, that's really impressive. And I think it says a lot about first-year head coach Sean McVay. I think he's a shoo-in to win Coach of the Year.
I think he is.
He's done a hell of a job. Todd Gurley had something like 400 more yards this year on the same amount of carries. Just so much better. Todd Gurley had 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns on the ground. And 6 more receiving.
To your McVay point, I think it's between really 3 guys in the entire league. I think it would be him, Doug Peterson, and probably Sean Payton. Now, the reason why Payton, I don't think, would get it is because of his track history. He's won the Super Bowl before. It's not really that big an accomplishment for him to take another team back to where they are. Peterson, I don't think, will win it, only because this team was supposed to be 8-8, 9-7. They did end up 13, but I don't know if it's that big of a jump. I mean, you talk about Sean McVay taking a team from 4 or 5 wins and not even being an afterthought in the league to in the playoffs and a 3rd seed. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. And I think Doug Marrone is in the talk too with Jacksonville. But I mean, I think you're right. I think Sean McVay wins the title.
Just to make sure I was right, I said Todd Gurley 13 rushing touchdowns and 6 more on the ground. So make sure that I got that correct. Give the guy the credit he deserves. He had over 2,000 all-purpose yards between rushing and receiving.
He's a beast.
That's an MVP candidate year out of the running back
Absolutely.
position. But you mentioned Goff. A lot of talk was made about Goff versus Wentz, obviously, and that happens with any guys that are drafted that early in the same year, Mike. But listen, he had a great year this year, a year that I don't think anybody really saw coming. 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. What can you say more about him? He's one of the main reasons this team really turned it around.
He's really turned the corner.
Yeah.
With no-name tight ends either.
Well, they always had great defense. That was never the issue, but the offense never did anything for him. But this year, and you mentioned Cooper Kupp, led the team in receiving. Gurley was second. Yeah. It's really, it is remarkable what this team has done.
You talk about Derek Carrier, Tyler Higbee, and Jared Everett. Do you know any of those guys?
Just because you mentioned them.
They're all 3 tight ends for the Rams. So, and a tight end's a big position. I mean, you look how New England uses it with Gronkowski. I mean, Gronkowski's a hell of an athlete, but they still use it the way as a weapon. And you're talking about using 2 guys here with the emergence, hopefully staying healthy, Sammy Watkins. You got Cooper Kupp, and you got Woods on this team that are solid wide receivers, and they've really given Goff the stability to move the ball and play really well. And like you said, Gurley's been playing great. Now, before we get to the matchup who they're going to play this week, we got to talk about their defense. I mean, their defense is just fantastic, phenomenal. My ex-Buccaneer guy, Mark Barron, coming over to the team, actually played defensive back for the first 2 or 3 years for the Rams. Now moved him to linebacker, and this guy is a heavy hitter. So there's a lot of speed at linebacker you now have for a guy who played DB. So that's a great move. You have obviously Alec Ogletree, who's hurt right now, and Barron's hurt too. But I'll tell you what, and I think you agree with me too. They are going to play in the first round of the wild card game. If they have any kind of possibility of playing, they are playing. You talk about Tremaine Johnson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on with this team. You talk about even Connor Barwin has contributed a little bit to this team. Not a hell of a lot, but still, you talk about Aaron Donald, probably the best defensive tackle in the game. He's a monster. I mean, this team is deep.
Well, the defense is full of guys that they took in the first round.
Absolutely.
Robert Quinn was the first round pick in 11. Brockers in 12. Ogletree 13. Donald in 14. They've put a lot of resources into building this defense, and it shows. And they really, considering the fact that they spent #1 picks on Gurley and Goff in successive years, team's young.
Yeah.
The team is young at very important positions, especially a head coach, oddly enough.
And we've said it before in the draft that you got to hit on guys that are going to be here for a while, and this is the fruition. It's all coming to pasture now.
It's more impressive, Mike, because they spent a lot to move up to get Jared Goff.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams that moved up to get a quarterback.
They rolled the dice, and it paid off.
It has. And he has all the looks of a guy who's going to be there for the next decade and lead that team. So, definitely, a good job by a new coaching staff, frankly.
Yeah,
for the Rams.
and keep an eye out for this move, folks. It might not seem like a big move to a lot of people because supposedly kickers are nobodies, but this team lost Greg Zuerlein for the year. And the guy they brought in, Sam Ficken, looked terrible last week. They talked about him signing insurance papers or whatever to keep it off the street. Yeah, he looked like he came off the street. And they better get this corrected in a hurry because and I know for playoff football, if this team were to go into the playoffs without a reliable kicker and they lose by a field goal or two or even an extra point, that is going to be a horrendous season that they had. So they have to, I don't know who you're going to get now. Obviously, Roberto Aguayo's still out there, but you're not going to pick him up. But there's guys out there that have to be able to make some kind of kicks for 2 or 3 games for them. There's got to be somebody.
It's a big hole.
It's definitely a big hole. It's a huge hole with Zuerlein. He's a great kicker.
It's a big hole because you're right. They've relied on him for a couple of years now. So
Yeah.
in the playoffs, Mike, their first-round matchup, they are the 3 seed in the NFC. They will host the 6 seed Atlanta Falcons, which you and I both know have a tendency to screw it up in the playoffs.
No. They won the Super Bowl last year.
They did not.
No. It was the third quarter.
They did not.
Tell me after.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
So I think that's a matchup that favors them quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's going to be a tough matchup. It really is.
You know what? The Falcons are a completely different team outside of Atlanta.
Yep.
Outside of that wonderful new stadium that they built. Yeah. And for a team like the Rams, I really hope that the fans come out and watch this team because their attendance has not been good all year.
Nope.
But I think that now we're in the playoffs here. They won their division, which, call it what it is, guys. That's a big surprise. In a division with Seattle, and people still kind of thought Arizona would be something this year, not so much.
San Francisco on the rise.
But they won their division. Give them credit.
It's a flip division. It really is. You see the big leader in Seattle starting to fall a little bit, and these teams like San Francisco and obviously the Rams making a move to the top. And you know what? Arizona can find a quarterback. Maybe they can make some move because they'll have David Johnson back next year. So that'll be interesting too. But yeah, you talk about Atlanta, and I think Atlanta. Do they have a shot to win? Well, anybody has a shot to win on any week. But like Brian says, they are a different team away from the Dome. But in the same sense with Atlanta, I think if Matty Ice and Julio Jones can hook up a little bit, it could cause a little bit of problems for the Rams. You also got Sanu on the other side, and you also have Hooper you got to slide out of the backfield. So there are 3 guys, and even Freeman's running hard. Coleman, I believe, will be back this week. So as much as it looks on paper that the Rams are overpowering, and obviously the point spread is high too, I think the Falcons could stay in this game and give them a little bit of a fight. Is it going to come down? Hopefully it doesn't come down to a field goal because I think the Rams could be in trouble.
That's true.
But I think the Rams should win this game. Like you said, I think it poses good matchups, but the Rams can move the ball. They've proven on anybody. They can stop. They can slow teams down. So, this is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to this game.
To the Falcons' credit, they didn't have a Super Bowl hangover as much as we think that they were going to.
And we really thought they were going to make the playoffs this year because usually the team that goes to the Super Bowl next year and loses
struggle.
Doesn't make it the following year. I think they're the first team in a long time to make it. So, kudos to them.
But we're both bullish on the Rams. You know who else is bullish, Mike? Vince Flukey. Vince Flukey is the Sports Box official LA Rams correspondent. We reached out to him to get his thoughts on his team's surprising season and where they're going to go from here. Here's what he had to say.
Hello, this is Vince Flukey, the LA Ram affiliate for the Sports Box. I'm here to give you the playoff outlook for the Rams. But before I do that, let me quickly reflect on their 2017 regular season. I had picked them to finish under 500 beginning of the season. But with 1 game left and 11 wins in the bank, it looks like they have well overachieved. A lot of that is attributed to Sean McVay's and his ability to make adjustments at the line with Goff pre-snap. Another positive thing as of late for the Rams has been their offensive line play. They have been giving Todd Gurley the opportunities to make people miss in the open field and opening up huge holes for him. One thing that surprised me about Gurley this year has been his ability to break away when needed. take a quick look at last week's 80-yard screen pass from the Titans, and he just completely blows away their secondary. I believe he has the second fastest run in the NFL this season. Some of the things that concern me are the Rams' defense. They have struggled at late with the pass due to some injuries in the secondary. They struggled in the beginning with the run and seem to have plugged that hole now. So it looks like the Rams are going to go as far as their defense can take them. The offense is definitely capable of scoring on any defense in the league. It's going to be the question of whether the Rams defense can stop the lights of some of the offenses in the NFC, like the Saints and the Vikings and whoever they come up against. This is Vince Flukey, affiliate for the LA Rams and the Sports Box. Thanks.
There you go.
And he's got a shave, for crying out loud. That beard's awful. But anyway,
It's a playoff beard.
He
might roll this through.
I told him about it too. He's got to shave that guy.
So let's see this through. Let's assume that the Rams get a win, because I believe they're going to get a win against Atlanta.
Yep.
That puts them in a second-round game in Minnesota. It's now they've lost in Minnesota earlier in the year.
Yep.
I
know you don't believe in it, but here's a revenge game coming back at it.
Yeah, but
Minnesota's had the week off. They're going to have a little bit of rust coming into that game. I think it's a matter of if you have a first-round bye and you come into a hot team like the Rams, like the Saints, like a good team like that come into your building, you have to shake off the rust immediately. You see teams come in and not play good for a quarter and a half, maybe even a half. Guess what? It's playoffs now. Knock off the rust halfway through the first quarter. You better be ready to go. Because if you get behind on a team like the Rams, the Vikings are in a lot of trouble. And the same thing with the Rams. So, I mean, I think they could beat Minnesota. I mean, I don't think it's unlikely if they go to that far. I mean, we were jumping ahead and saying that the Falcons are going to beat them, or the Falcons are going to lose them. But I think the Rams have a good shot of moving on.
You know what's interesting about this whole thing, right? Is the Rams are actually only 4-4 at home. They were 7-1 on the road. That one came in Minnesota. Yeah. So just food for thought on that standpoint. But again, for me, prognosticating about this team right now, I'm going to say I think that the Rams beat Atlanta. Yep. And I think that after that, the Rams. It's a tough test in Minnesota. I'm going to go with Minnesota there. I think that's where the season ends for them.
I will take the Rams as well. Although, like I said, not that I would tell anybody to go out and take the Rams because this is a high spread. This game could get a little bit hairy, could come down to a field goal. If it does, Vince, I know, will be holding his breath when the kicker comes out, whoever that may be, trot him out on the field to win the game for the Rams. I mean,
are you offering?
You know what? I don't even know if I want that much pressure to come out on the field for one kick. But listen, whoever they get, I'm sure they're doing their due diligence. They're bringing guys in this week. They're bringing somebody in because if Sam Ficken's the kicker this week, I'm sorry, Vince, but you guys got problems because he didn't look good at all last week. No. Even on the extra points and the field goals, he looked terrible. But that's it.
That's it for the Rams. And listen, again, a great year. I think no matter what happens at this point, the future is super bright for LA. They're going to get a new building. A lot to like about this team for really the first time in a very long time.
Absolutely.
And hopefully they build up a nice fan base out there.
Let's make it official. That's all the time we have for the Los Angeles Rams. Keep an eye out for us. We always have good stuff coming. We're going to have more previews for you to keep an eye out for. We're going to walk you through the playoffs. Well, Brian will be here for a little while, but we'll see. And thank you for watching. You always get us on social media if you need to.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, I am having a baby in the coming week, it feels like. So it's going to happen pretty quick here for us. However, we're going to be on social media everywhere for you guys. We're on Twitter and Facebook, both at Sportsbox Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that. Be sure to like the video if you liked us today. Check out some of the other ones. We're previewing every NFL playoff team for you. And we also have a Facebook group called Outside the Box. It's great. It's a nice way to interact with other sports fans just like you. Make sure that you apply. We'll let you in most likely, unless we don't really like you, but we probably
will. Yeah. And make sure you check out if we ever posted the block pool we have on Brian getting some sleep after he has a baby, but we'll see. So anyway, thank you for watching.
I'll take the under.
We appreciate it. And again, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters is right here. Thanks for watching. See you.
This episode of the Sports Box is brought to you by Mic'd Up Entertainment and DJ Mike Velardi. For all of your event planning needs, make sure you contact Mike at 609-864-5925 and tell him that you saw him on the Sports Box.
1, 2, 3.
Don't forget to subscribe.